One thing I will say to those of you who from our last meeting, one thing that we learned was that when you speak into your microphone, you really need to speak into your microphone. Otherwise, the audience won't be able to hear you. So.
Good afternoon, everyone, here in person and in following us online. We have a quorum of our members here with two of them participating remotely, so we do have a full slate. With that, I'd like to call the meeting of the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors to order. And our first order of business is part of the bittersweet nature of being on boards like this. If we get, it's exciting to get new blood and new participation, and also going to miss those that have been so important and have contributed so much to our university over the years. And that leads us into Governor Dave Lichty, who was appointed to this board by Governor Nixon in 2014, served for 6 years, with a significant portion of that being the chair of the board, was a vital role in the presidential search, which we will talk about in a couple of different times today about the role of our board with the president, which I believe is by far the single most important thing that we do here as a board is selecting our leadership, and Governor Lichty played a key role in that, as well as many other vital things here. And so would like to ask Dave to come up here. I'd like to recognize him, show our appreciation, and have a couple of small tokens of our appreciation for his dedicated service. We have a clock that is engraved and says, "Presented to David G. Lichty in sincere appreciation for your dedicated service and outstanding leadership to the Board of Governors at Missouri Western State University, 2014 to 2020. We also have this appropriate of which we would like to present the portrait as well as that engraved clock. Thank you very much, David. And we'll certainly miss you in this official capacity, but we know that you will still be supporting Missouri Western and look forward to you in other roles. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
To congratulate Lisa. She'll do a great job. I've known Lisa for 40 plus years, and she'll do a wonderful, wonderful work here. She actually threw a baby shower for my oldest daughter. That's how long we go back. So anyway, she'll do a great job. Welcome, good luck. And I'm really just grateful and humbled that I got to do this, honestly. Not everybody gets to do this. And I got to meet great people, enjoyed my time here, had no regrets. And, you know, there's a lot of people around this table I didn't know before I started, and there's several people I've known for years. So to all of you, best of luck. The best thing of this whole job is knowing that Missouri Western makes a difference in a lot of people's lives, and it has and will continue to do that. And I know you've got the right people leading, so keep it up. Thank you.
Yeah, very well said, Dave. And that does lead us to our next order of business. Lisa Norton has been appointed by Governor Parson to be on the Board of Governors. Lisa moved to St. Joseph when she was 13 years old and is a product of the St. Joseph public school system as a Central High School graduate. After completing her master's in accountancy at the University of Missouri in Columbia, she returned to St. Joe and was hired here at Missouri Western as an assistant professor in accounting. After 14 years of in higher education, she started her first business in 1998. Since that time, Lisa has started and sold multiple businesses and is currently the president of Biozyme Incorporated, based here in St. Joseph. Lisa is married to a great guy, Bob Norton, very good friends of the university and to lots of us personally as well, and they have 4 children. Lisa is certainly a true animal lover, including dogs, horses, and cats, and when she is not busy with all of these other things of running a business and family activities, she loves to spend time in her flower gardens. So with that, I would like to invite another alum, the Honorable Daniel Kellogg, up here to administer the oath of office to Governor Norton.
And ironically enough, Lisa, David, and I were all at Central High School.
Yes, yes. They almost had to close down shortly thereafter.
So Lisa, this is my pleasure to do this. If you raise your right hand. I, Lisa Norton,
I, Lisa Norton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Missouri,
of the State of Missouri,
and faithfully demean myself
and faithfully demean myself
as a member of the Board of Governors
as a member of the Board of Governors
of Missouri Western State University,
of Missouri Western State University,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Kellogg. The next item of business would be the minutes from our last meeting of August, but in a review of the minutes, we had typographical or clerical errors in there that we are going to take care of, and then we'll present those at our next meeting for approval at that time. It's believed that that's just a little bit cleaner look than trying to make an oral amendment within the minutes at this point in time. So we're going to pass on that at this point in time. Since our last formal meeting, we did have a board poll to address 2 matters. One was the campus-wide air handlers. This is part of funds from the state through the CARES Act. And so we have that as a motion that we have voted upon. And we also had a contract with Strata Information Group, which is going to be doing some consulting for us and helping to implement some of our admissions and enrollment management software that we currently have in place, but it's to properly utilize the systems that we have. And we needed to get going on that as we're working towards next year's admissions and enrollment as well. So do I have a motion to ratify the October 8th, 2020 board poll regarding the campus-wide air handlers and a contract with Strata Information Group?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on that? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor of ratifying our October 8th, 2020 board poll regarding the campus-wide air handlers and the contract with Strata Information Group, please state aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion to ratify that board poll is unanimously passed. So we have the reports of our vice presidents, and first up will be Provost, Dr. Doug Davenport, to talk about academic and student affairs. Dr. Davenport.
Thank you. It's good to join you all this afternoon, and I'm pleased to find the weather outside is actually much more seasonal than what it has been the last few days. I don't know about you all, but I kind of would like more fall and less winter before we get to winter. At any rate, my report, which is actually in two parts, one referencing academic affairs and the second portion referencing student affairs, are on tab B, beginning on page 12. I would like to simply highlight a couple of things. One, we were very pleased to have two successful commencement events in September. And thank you, members of the Board of Governors that were present for that activity. We, in facing the challenges of COVID-19 and the world in which we live, it made a commencement exercise extremely complex with many unknowns. And I am very pleased that we served more than 200 of our more recent graduates. And we had approximately 1,000 family members between the two events that attended those activities. And so thanks to the 75 plus faculty and staff who volunteered of their time on Sunday afternoon and evening to help us with that. And by all accounts, it was a complete success. And these kinds of events do not happen without the collaborative efforts of everyone involved. It truly is a team. And I was very pleased to see the way these went. So thank you for participating with us in that. I do have a couple of updates as well. As you know, the fall census date is the time at which we report official numbers for enrollment in the fall. And I have provided that for you in my written remarks. I would like to just simply state that while we have had some declines in enrollment, I think there is nothing that was unexpected as we got to the census date from what we had already seen. So essentially it was stable at that point from what you heard at our previous meeting in August. And we continue to look at ways in which we can strengthen and enhance both our recruitment and retention of students. These are crucial at this time. Enrollment is so important. And if we're going to serve students well, we must make sure that we take that seriously, invest appropriately, and do all that we can as a team. So much the same way as commencement was successful because it was a team effort. Enrollment management is a team effort for all of us to be involved in the recruitment, retention, and completion for our students. So thank you for that help as well, because I know we're all out there talking about Missouri Western and sharing the value that is provided by a degree from Missouri Western. I want to tell you about a couple of other things that I think are interesting new things that we're doing. One is a winter session. So we previously, several years back, we used to have a session between the fall and the spring terms. And so we thought this is an opportunity, given that we changed the calendar for the fall semester, this would be a wonderful opportunity for us to take advantage of that. It's about a 4-week time. So we have identified 4 classes that are often in high demand and often represent challenges for our students to complete in order to make timely completion of their degree. And so we will be offering those 4 courses during that winter session, which begins right after the conclusion of what is our regular fall semester. And then it will conclude just prior to the beginning of the spring semester in January. We're very excited about that. I appreciate the faculty who have stepped up to teach these. And it is a pilot. So we will see, perhaps this is something that we can continue. We will be monitoring and evaluating it as such. And related to that, we have a lot of opportunities through the new Center for Service that we're also trying to promote as well, because students may want to look at other opportunities that could become credit-bearing experiences in addition to courses. So I'm excited about the idea that we could have a winter session that advances student success and advances institutional mission. I will give you one other update as well regarding our Center for Teaching and Learning. I think this is a wonderful new initiative that we, as you know, was part of the strategic plan. We undertook it, and frankly, professional development around teaching and learning is central to who we are, and it represents an important need that we must meet. And with COVID, obviously the ability to have the same kinds of events and activities is completely undermined. So you have to change things. So I'm very pleased with the co-directors of the Center for Teaching and Learning who said, let's do a virtual research showcase. And that showcase, which provides an opportunity for faculty to share their research, also is something that we look as having value as faculty are looking for promotion and tenure opportunities. As you know, travel is limited. It's very restricted. Many conferences are either being canceled or are virtual. So this is our own version of a virtual conference, if you will, for academic opportunities. And there is a link on in the report where you can go see what we're doing. And I'm very proud of those initiatives because I think it represents an important need that has been there for some time. There is one other thing. I did say one other thing, but I'm going to have a second one other thing. So if you will, I want to highlight one other thing as it relates to student success. We know that our students as an open access institution oftentimes struggle in various ways. Sometimes it's academically, sometimes it's financially, sometimes it is socially. But all that said, we are still obligated to do everything we can to serve those students and to help meet their needs. And it's an even greater challenge when you are constrained with resources, as we are. So the student needs don't go away, but the ability to meet those needs are often limited. One of the things that we have done over the last 3 years now is to invest actually a very small amount of money in something that most of us would not be able to comprehend how it works, but it's an artificial intelligence chatbot called EdSites. It's a company that we have partnered with, and essentially students are contacted by this chatbot via text, and they are engaged and ask questions about their experiences at the university. We are able to then pull that information and understand better which of our students are at risk in various ways. So I was just looking yesterday at the dashboard for our interventions, and I can tell you essentially information now based on that. How many of our students are feeling like they're homesick? Or how many students based on this are feeling like I'm stressed out, I don't have all the resources I need? I just saw an email from a student who said, hey, I'm having trouble with technology. So our ability to gather that information and then reach back out to the student with a human being, one of our faculty or staff, to serve them is a very important thing. That initiative, if we were to try to do that with people, would be very labor intensive, very expensive, and we just couldn't afford to do it. But by virtue of using technology and leveraging that, it is working. And I will say, surprisingly, for someone like me, students seem to be quite comfortable sharing lots of personal details via text with a chatbot. So I don't know why that is, but it does work. And many of our students are engaging with that, with Max the Griffin, through this endeavor. They understand that it's not a human being they're talking to, but they continue to use it. I'm very pleased with that. And that's just an example of something that I think when we talk about student success, so what are we actually doing to increase student success? And this is one of those measures that we are doing. With that, I will be happy to answer questions.
Any governors have any questions of Dr. Davenport? I would at least it's good to remind the audience on a somewhat regular basis that the board books are provided to the governors a week prior to our meeting. So the written report has been available to all of us, and so we have been able to go through that prior to the oral presentation today. And that's why we don't go through line item by line item, just because of time to go through all those. It doesn't mean that anything is less important than anything else, but we have had a chance to look through it and digest it. Having said that, two things that one you mentioned and one you didn't that I would like to draw special attention to and give some compliments on there. Had the dedication for the Mosaic Life Care Auxiliary Healthcare Lab on campus here recently. And that's for anybody who hasn't had a chance to come out and see what we have put together for that. It's tremendous, and that is an incredible benefit, not just to our university, but to the region here. We are expanding our role for attracting and educating and training healthcare workers that are needed so much now. And to show the importance of that, the governor was here for that dedication, as well as a significant portion of our legislative representation from the area. And so what a wonderful event to highlight a lot of hard work put in by a lot of people to get something that is just a tremendous resource here. So that is in the book, but that was just such a kind of crown jewel to look at. That's tremendous. And you did touch on graduation, and we had a number of us participated in that as well. And I've had so many parents talk to me of just saying they appreciated that, as well as some students also. But to give some level of normalcy to what we're doing here, as well as to recognize those recent graduates for all the hard work they did. That can't be just a pat on the back virtually, although some of that needed to be done, but to actually recognize and celebrate our students and the accomplishments that they did. And I know there was a lot of moving parts with that, a lot of people involved. All I did was show up. But I know there was so much behind the curtain done for that, and just want to give a public acknowledgement and thanks to all of those that were part of that, because I know that meant a lot to a lot of people, and that's celebrating what we're all about. So thank you for that part.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Thank you, Doug. Next, we have Dr. Josh Looney to talk to us about athletics.
Thank you, and happy to share actually two separate reports for you. The first one will cover athletics, esports, and recreation services, and the second one will fall into advancement and the foundation. Starting off with partnerships, one that we're very proud of and generated significant news in St. Joseph over the last month or so was the closing of the downtown YMCA. And with that, obviously, one of the primary indoor aquatic spaces in this community was shut down for those users. And we were able to provide a lifeline here throughout the remainder of the year, and with opportunities to evaluate alongside the YMCA going into 2021 for their aquatics courses to come utilize Missouri Western's pool, as well as their lap swimmers and their YMCA memberships. And felt that was really true to the heartbeat of the pool that really is almost exclusively used by community partners. It's the home of high school swim teams here in town. We've also added some partnerships with Mosaic as well. Emily Ludwig and Jenda Smith have worked on that. And we also partnered with the city of St. Joseph, who is a prime partner and supporter of the pool, to allow the YMCA to come in and expand their partnership. So that started in October, just a few days after the downtown YMCA is closed, and they've had very good reviews from the users there. And it's certainly extended our pool usage to the majority of every day, Monday through Friday, from morning until the evening. So it's been good to see that use. Another great partnership I'd like to highlight alongside the city. We've tried to bring downtown basketball back to St. Joseph, and build a vibrant downtown experience with our Hilliard Classic over the last few years. We brought in a national basketball tournament on the men's side for a preseason tournament, and we were able to, through the leadership of Brett Easley, who's our senior associate athletic director, but in this standpoint, he's the chairman of the newly revamped St. Joseph Sports Commission. We were able to put in 2 bids from Missouri Western alongside the Sports Commission to host 2 women's basketball Elite Eights, which are national tournaments. We were awarded those a couple weeks ago for 2023 and 2024. So national champions will be crowned in St. Joseph. Again, it's the 6th time that will happen here. Last time was in 2010 and 11. So another great partnership there that we're very excited about. You'll note that in my last report at your board meeting, we anticipated a record number of student athletes to be enrolled here at Missouri Western this academic year. That turned out to be the case. You can see a chart there of the last 10 years of student athlete enrollment growth at the university. We're at 440 on our census date here, which is an increase in close to 13% from last year's number. Really, when you go back 5 years ago, though, that number was at 261. So we've obviously had some program expansion with track and field in that time, lacrosse as well, but we've also seen some retention and growth on some other of our sport rosters as well. So we're happy to host those opportunities for student athletes and also bring some vibrant campus life, as the majority of our athletes live on campus here in our residence halls. Other partnerships we're proud of. We're playing some football this fall. In fact, we kick it off in about 10 days at Central Arkansas. We'll go down and play a Division I opponent. We're able to partner with 2 other MIAA institutions, Pittsburgh State and Nebraska Kearney, to have a modified fall schedule. We're still looking for a 5th game that weekend after Thanksgiving. And we also plan to announce some spring dates as well that will be a little bit more of a developmental type of exhibition games for the younger players on the rosters. The partnership really that's made that possible, though, we were able to secure some external funding, exclusively external funding, as well as third-party partners for COVID testing for our student athletes. And our athletes that are in season will follow all NCAA protocols. Football team's been tested weekly for close to a month. Basketball will have multiple tests per week when their season tips off here in about a month. And very grateful to the partners in the community that stepped up to allow that funding, but also the access to those tests. As we know, that's not blanket testing of student athletes. It's not something we would want to pull out of our hospital supply and others here in this community. So that's another incredible partnership, and it's allowed our return to competition, which happened last Friday. Our cross-country team broke a streak of 220 days of no competition. Softball was the last to play in March, and they went up to Iowa. We're the first team to compete, and the women went up first, and they won the race. So you might as well win it if you're going to be the first. So we are very excited about them, and they'll have 2 more meets as well. An esports update for you. As you walked in, you probably saw a different look to the bookstore, a colorful look. And we're in the midst of the arena construction, the transition from the former bookstore, which has now has its new location, to an esports arena. It's the progress is well underway. They're actually in the branding phase and some of the cleanup of just the general area. Equipment's been ordered. We'll have a soft launch, and it should be ready to go when our students return to campus in January. We plan a formal ribbon cutting sometime in February of 2021 when that is fully ready to go. Christian has done an awesome job as leading that program. There's also some statistics in a report about participation in esports. So far, 31 varsity athletes on those teams. Over 160 students have engaged in esports overall. And the best way I can put it in an athletic term, and talking with Christian, would be they're kind of in their preseason mode. They're having some scrimmages, some small leagues, and when they'll really get going is when that arena will be done. And so they're kind of having a slow rise, building their rosters, and they plan to be a full go by January and February. So I know there's a lot of excitement in our student body, and that obviously extends far beyond the varsity teams that are wearing Missouri Western. This is club opportunities. I think 6 clubs, Christian said, are already forming. And then just the casual gaming, which will only increase when that arena space is there, as a general student can go in and build relationships and participate in esports as well. So that is well on its way, and the construction is as well. I just add a few other things on the athletic side. Personnel, we were able to name a new head women's soccer coach shortly after your last meeting. Excited to welcome Damian Macias He comes to us as the associate head coach at Division I, North Dakota. First-time head coach, but over 20 years of coaching experience at Division I, II, and III, and international. He is a military spouse and has coached in Japan and Germany and everywhere else. And we're fortunate at this point in his career, he's now in a position to be the person that settles in a spot as a head coach, as his wife will be retiring from the military here in early 2021. So a lot of experience for a first-time head coach, and our women's soccer athletes have been very excited to work with him. On the fundraising front in athletics, we were just about to start off our charity auction and golf classic. At your last meeting, we were able to set a record for that year. For the 18 years of the event, $104,000 was raised. That beat the previous record, which was in the high 70s. I think we'll go virtual on the auction piece forever now after those numbers. We've also had a good start of the first 6 to 8 weeks of the semester in just general fundraising, where we were able to eclipse over $200,000 in athletics gifts. That's 519 from 125 different donors. Football had a golf tournament, which helped with those numbers. We've been working hard on corporate partnerships and repurposing those that were football heavy and expecting a full season into basketball. And we've been able to maintain the majority of those agreements, which has been a great result of our team, given the circumstances in COVID. I will go into the advancement and foundation report now, and then I'll open up for questions on anything that we reported on here. The foundation completed its audit on June 30th, and clean audit, happy to report. It was Andrew Malloy's final gift to us as the outgoing financial officer, and did such a great job here at the institution. On June 30th, total assets in the foundation totaled $53.1 million. At the end of September, we were up above $55 million. Increases were largely due to investment performance. So also some good signs there just in general on the assets of the foundation. We have hired a replacement for Andrew's position there. Michelle Chambers, an alum of Missouri Western, comes to us from Purina, not here in town, although she did start her career at the plant here in St. Joseph and built her career in leadership positions here in St. Joseph, then to Ohio, and ultimately joins us from their Denver, Colorado location. She started October 12th and is working the transition alongside Andrew, and will be up and running fully, running our finances in the foundation for their upcoming board meeting, which is in early November. So excited to welcome Michelle. Probably the thing to highlight here the most, and I'm going to steal this from Pastor Daryl Jones, many of you know, and he led our development committee this morning. He calls her Chrissy McCann, not Chrissy McCant. Okay, I thought that was kind of funny. But if you know Chrissy, she is a can-do attitude, and she's taken it upon herself after participating in the Chambers membership drive. Was inspired for our Western League membership drive. So she's created an Olympic atmosphere that will model the drive that the St. Joseph Chamber of Commerce. I know a number of you over the years have probably participated in one way or another. And it's an exciting piece, and it brings in community support. And she's set a pretty big goal this year. It's $300,000 is the goal. And part of that's the financial piece. The other part is the relationships, bringing people back in, talking about Missouri Western. The last formal drive we've had for the Western League, which really is the heartbeat of sustainability, community partnerships, that unrestricted giving to the foundation, was 2005. So we're long overdue. The goal she has set is a lofty goal, and that's why we call her Chrissy McCann versus McCant. So she is going to launch that here in November in those processes. Daryl Jones will be a critical component of that alongside the development committee, and that Olympics will start over a 2-day period in December. And so excited at your next board meeting to let you know the results of that. But I think her taking this initiative and trying something new is great, and it's a lot of energy, and she brings it. So that's probably what I'm most excited about on the foundation side. You can also see some of the annual fund updates that are in your packet as well. With that, I'll pause for any questions in any of those areas.
Any questions? Can't help but notice your face mask there. It appears we're making a concerted effort to show how vital the relationship is between the university and our community.
It's our athletics campaign, Our City, that those that can't see. And yes, it's one of our pillars in community engagement, and wanted, you'll see that as a multi-year piece. You might have seen some billboards in town, and really to highlight what we're doing for the community and what they do for us and support as well.
As my hanging curve.
There you go, hanging curveball, yes. Glad I didn't miss on that one. I knew what it was on the front here.
That was nice.
Thank you.
All right,
Dr.
thank
Moon.
you.
Next, we'll have Daryl Morrison, our CFO, give the financial report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Several things. Got a PowerPoint put up on the screen for you. Here we go. In your book, you do have a more detailed report. I'll not go through all the points on that. Would like to just highlight a few things. We are currently working on the financial statements for FY 2020. They're almost complete in the audit process, so we're finished with that. Hope to have the audit before you at the next Board of Governors meeting. We have implemented new parking regulations on campus. We put out new signage. It looks uniform. We don't have black lots and green lots and all these other colored lots around on campus. All the signs now match, and it looks a lot better. So a lot of people, a lot of work in that. We continue to monitor university budgets for this year. There's been several changes. The staff has worked extremely hard working with different units across campus because of some of the reorganizations and things that have happened. We continue, of course, to serve students. That's what we do. Student financial aid, awarded a number of Pell Grants and scholarships and all of those things. And of course, the business office on the other side trying to collect what they can, okay? We've made several technology assessments and upgrades across. In the COVID environment, we had to shift greatly and install some cameras, install various microphones, various things in classrooms all over campus. We had to make sure Wi-Fi capabilities were up. So thankful to the staff for doing that. And of course, HR continues to support employees in the community in human resources through the COVID and pandemic and with the restructures and things like that. So I want to give them a shout out. So I would sum my area up with this. That's us. We're extremely busy, okay? And I just want to say publicly to this board, I'm very thankful for the staff I have. We've been down in numbers and as many areas across campus are, but they're working countless hours and they have a dedication and a love for this university. And I just want to say publicly how much I thank them and appreciate them for that. To give you an idea of what's going on, we often talk about the infrastructure of the campus and some of the things that don't happen instead of ever looking at the things that are happening. And I'm not going to read each one of these. I just want to give you a little running list. In the year, a little over a year that I've been here, these are projects from the physical plant, Brian Atkins and his team, Brian Hara, James, there's a group, Corey, Bruce, a lot of hardworking gentlemen and ladies in that area. And so these are just some of the things that have happened. And as you go through this, we'll see classrooms that have been renovated and upgraded. We'll talk about fume hoods. We can talk about air handlers and ventilation issues. We can talk about heat controls. These are things we completed a pool repair job over there. We fixed the waistline in the Looney Arena, which is a good thing, right? So, but there's more air handlers and condensing units. We've got installed new roofs. We fixed handrails. Just the list just goes on and on and on. And these are things with a less than optimal staff per the APA regulations, okay, this group has been able to do it. So I just wanted to give them a shout out, and I want you to see all the things that have been done or are currently in process on this campus. Josh mentioned esports. We're doing that all in-house. And so that's a very good thing. It's very nice. Stop by and take a look on your way out this evening. And then here we go. So, and number one, I do want to point this one out, the reflection pool. We have a plan. We're changing it. It will no longer be a pool. We're going to back the griff up on the hill there, level it out, fill it in. It's the most cost-effective thing, and make a nice looking entrance for our campus. And so that's what we're going to do, that at a nominal cost, because our guys are able to do it. So questions, comments on that? That's a lot of stuff. And again, I'm very appreciative of that. Finance update. I want to begin by stepping back to FY 1920. This was also in your booklet. I think it was attachment 5 in your book, the financial statements. But let's just take a look at where we are. The 2020, the audit's not complete, so I've labeled it as such, as unaudited. Tuition and net fees, you'll see that we were up just a touch over 2018, but we were down, of course, from 2019 on that. Our revenues were down overall last year. Not unexpected. The pandemic took a major swipe at our revenue income in the last few months, okay? The operating expenses, as you see, we were down in salaries and wages. The fringe benefits on the financial statements are up, and that's primarily retirement contributions and things associated with GASB 68 and 75 appropriately. However, notice that supplies and services, which is a raw number, we were down a little over $600,000 from one year to the next. Okay, and that's part of that is the spending freeze that President Wilson put on during the last few months of the year, and that paid dividends to us. And then, of course, we have several issues here. You'll notice the first one in particular, state appropriations for last year, went down from 20.6 in 2019 and 2018 to 18.7 last year. Even with all those things said, we did have a loss in our net position for the campus, but I'm taking solace in the fact or something that we were 9.3 down in net position in 2019 and 8.3 in 2018, 6.3 this year. So we're making the things that are in place, the things that we're doing are working, okay? Are we there yet? No. But my thought is, and my belief is, that we're on the right track, and I think these numbers bear it out, okay? We want a positive net position, okay? But it's going to take us a little bit of time to get there. I'll show you some other slides in a few minutes that illustrates again how we're moving ahead, okay? Budget finance for the current year. Had more detailed in your book where each fund type is put together. I only put in the slides this afternoon a summary for all funds. Student tuition and fees, 49.4% of our total. We would like to see that at this time of year after a fall semester. That should be your greatest one. You should be around 52 to 53% of your projected budget. So we're a little under that. Hopefully, Dr. Davenport's plans for an semester will boost those numbers and help that. But we're down there. But overall, our revenues are 44%, which is not collectively not bad for the first quarter, really, of the year, because these are the numbers as of 9/30. As we look at expenses, you can see that we're at 20.6, okay, for salaries and compensation. And what that tells us is that we We have some salary lag, okay, due to some unfilled positions, things like that. As you all know, 25% would be 1/4 of the budget. So we're good there. Supplies and services are high. They're always high at this time of year. As the semester kicks off, it doesn't level out. There's a lot of expenses that occur in restocking and things like that for the fall semester. So we're doing that, okay? State appropriations, currently budgeted at 17.7. Many of you may have saw the governor's press release a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, where he, I'm sorry, the governor's press release where he loosened up some of the state appropriations. The impact to the university is about $500,000 is what it is. It did not restore full funding. It has not restored to full funding. We got notification today. Mr. Johnston was sharing with me, the governor's called a special session for November the 5th to discuss budgetary issues for the state. So we're hopeful that that's a good thing, not a bad thing, but we shall see what happens. But right now, we're still a couple of $1 million below where we should be in our state appropriation, okay? What I want to point out to you though, with the adjustments and the things that we've made thus far in this fiscal year, we started the year, as those of you that have been on the board with the exception of Lisa, Governor Norton, understand that we started almost $4 million in the hole, okay? Through 1 quarter, we have picked up 1.3 million towards that deficit, just in reorganization of things and some additional things like that. So again, I just want to emphasize, we're not out of the woods, as they say where I'm from, but we're moving in the right direction, okay? And I'm very happy for the campus community, the support that they have shown this administration as we've dealt with these issues. I think everyone's always gotten paid. Everyone has the supplies and the things that they need to make it through during this difficult time. So we're moving in the right direction. How else do I know that? Well, the easy thing is, how much do I have in the bank? That's always a good thing to know, right? In 2018 at 9/30, okay, the end of the first quarter, this university had $12.4 million in the bank. Last year, we were at 11.7. We made adjustments. We did things. We're closing this quarter at 13.9. So again, moving in the right direction on the finances of the university, okay? Long way to go, but we're headed right. Questions, comments on that? I went through them quite hurriedly, but you have all the information primarily in your book. One of the other things that I wanted to update the board on was COVID-19 funds. You're all aware that we received numerous funds as a university for COVID-19. How much money did we get? In total, $7 million, slightly over $7 million. We got 3.9 from the federal government, the governor's office, state of Missouri, 2.6, and then Buchanan County gave us 467,000. And so we're thankful for that support, and it's helped us. What have we done with the money? That's always the big question, right? Well, the first thing we did, as you may recall, back last May, we gave 1.8 back to our students as direct payment. That is how the federal government authorized it. That's what they wanted done with it, and that's exactly what we did. We have also been able to use 1.2 for revenue recovery. We've spent thus far $188,000 on technology, various supplies, other items, and then building ventilation, $1.6 million. These are either completed or in process as of this time, and that is to get us upgraded equipment, upgraded infrastructure to be able to allow us to have safer air quality, better air quality we'll be able to use as opposed to a MERV 8 filter to a MERV 13 filter, which is very important during this pandemic. What have we got designated? We still have preventative supplies, designated technology, additional building ventilation, things like that. COVID testing for athletes. This is the Buchanan County. We're thankful to the county commissioners for that and allowing us to do that on our athletics. And so we've still got just under $500,000 remaining. We do have some plans for that, but at this time it's not completely designated. I want to offer my gratitude to the board for the board poll that was done a couple of weeks ago, because that helped us move ahead and get going on some of our projects where we have very tight timelines with the state in particular on the expenditure of funds. So thank you for doing that. Questions, comments on any of that?
Carolyn, the $450,000 that's still remaining.
Yes.
The CARES funding, is there a time frame with that has to be
Most
designated?
most of that is federal dollars. And so we have until June of next year. Okay. So-
Daryl, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Debbie. So did I read in your report, or maybe it was Dr. Kennedy's report, or maybe I made this up in my mind. Are you still having meetings with faculty and staff to help them, I guess, to educate them a little bit more on our financial situation so they can follow along?
We haven't had the town halls like we once were having.
Right. Wrong description I used.
Yes, but we are doing staff senate and faculty senate reports. And those are available to employees across campus to tune in, where we give updates on these financial dollars and things like that. Of course, our cabinet meetings, I disseminate information out to Dr. Kennedy.
Yeah, I think what you might recall is I think I mentioned the budget planning committee that.
Yeah.
Was that what you're thinking of? So, and I was going to mention this in my report because I think it's a really great initiative. Daryl, Vice President Morrison, in conjunction with the Faculty Senate President and the Staff Association President and some other folks, has created a planning budget committee, which has a membership across staff and faculty in the campus, so that we can use this committee to disperse some information about just what is a university budget? What are you looking at? How do you understand it? So, and that's a very important piece for us because it's a demonstration to our commitment to shared governance. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm thinking that might be what you're referencing.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, I think it's a very important piece, and I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, we are still trying to be as transparent as possible and are working with groups and trying to get information out. As a matter of fact, they were privy to some of the information that was shared in this body prior to you, in the sense of what our cash position is, how we kind of wound up last year, where we're at currently. So yeah, we're trying to push it out. It's challenging times though with the environment we're operating in. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move to the next topic on the agenda, if you will, and that is employee benefits.
Actually, I guess before we get to that, is there anything else with I think we probably need to.
No, we need to approve the finances,
Right.
right?
So any other questions relating to the current financial report as presented? Not, I would ask for a motion to approve the September 20th, 2020 financial report as presented by Vice President Morrison. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Governor Teeman.
Thank you, Debbie. Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the September 20th, 2020 financial report as presented. Are there any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the financial report as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion to approve the September 20th financial report as presented is approved. Mr. Morrison.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move to an update on employee benefits, university benefits. And I'd like to begin with just a small history lesson on this so everybody knows what we're at. I handed out to you prior to the meeting our employee booklet that will be enforced. That's it. Thank you, Lisa, for holding that up. Okay. So you should have that before you. Governor Mason, Governor Smith will email that to you. My apologies for not doing that prior to this meeting. But you have one. And the history lesson is this: as we began looking at employee benefits and renewal, we had several challenges as a campus. First of all, we're facing a $3.9 million deficit campus-wide. The second thing is we're facing a mandatory increase by the state into our Mosier's retirement plan for many of our employees of 1.11%. And as we began to look at our health insurance in particular, our medical insurance, what we found is that our utilization for this year is up almost 22% from prior year. Not to mention the fact that before we even began to get a quote, they told us that it will be 5.5% higher next year before we even look at your claims and your usages, just because of COVID-19. So we were facing that. So when they went out, came back with a renewal, they came back to me and said 19%, $780,000, just on medical, just on medical. Once I got up out of the floor, I began to think about what we could do as a campus. Given that $780,000, we would have gone from $3.3 million contribution to $4.1 million when we have a $4 million deficit. We know that that's not feasible, not something we could do as a campus. So the question is what to do, okay? And what to do is this: we were forced to make changes. It's not something we chose to do. We were forced to make changes. We had to make changes in the plans that we offered. We had to make changes in the contribution structure that we had in place. And we had to make changes in some of the providers that we had. What does it look like? Let me walk you through this if I can. What I've tried to do is put 2020 on the left, on the right is 2021. Currently, the university is with Blue Cross Blue Shield, okay? And for our region and for our employees, we have found thus far that they're the best that we utilize and have the best rates that we can utilize because of their buying power and various things. Currently, the university has 4 different plans. We are shrinking those plans down to 2. We're doing away with the HMO and the PPO buyout. So next year, we'll just have, beginning in January, we will have just the PPO and the high deductible plan. Our health savings account remains the same. Our flex remains the same. Our dental insurance will be changing from the standard to Delta Dental of Missouri. And the reason we're changing, there's $72,000 worth of savings by changing to Delta Dental. We received in this by bundling with some of these groups, I will tell you, we picked up slightly over $100,000 in savings to the university by doing that. The vision insurance remains the same. Our life insurance with accidental death and dismemberment, we're moving from Prudential over to Unum. We also, many of you may not even be aware that we have an employee assistance program. That will remain the same, and we still offer long and short-term disability to our employees. Retirement plans remain the same. A new thing this year for employees that want to do it or would like to participate, we are offering some voluntary coverages that we've not had in the past: critical illness insurance, accident insurance, cancer insurance. These are things that not funded by the university, but it's an offering. It's a benefit to our people where we will help you administer that if you so desire to pay those claims. Okay. The thing I want to talk about, because you're probably going to hear about it, is this. The university has always had free insurance for its employees. There is a plan as an employee, was a plan where if you were an employee, your medical, your dental, your vision, and life insurance were 100% funded by the university. The reason I'm saying that is because that will no longer be the case. We've been forced to make changes. What will still be free to our employees? Okay, dental, vision, life. Medical will have a small contribution moving forward. For FY 2020, the estimated total university cost for our total plan was $3.3 million annually, which averages right at $634 a month per employee. Okay? With what we're proposing with these changes, we still have a healthy increase in what the university's picking up. $3.8 million, $721 per employee. How long is this sustainable? I don't know. But what I want to demonstrate to this body this afternoon is, because we've had a lot of negative impact with that change, as you might imagine, okay? But we are still putting in almost $90 per employee more in benefits next year, okay? And I would also tell you that the collective addition for next year across all employees is $15,000 increase over the current year is all. We've also restructured some of our plans. I want to point that out as well. Okay. So an employee only will now have to contribute, but what we were able to do is restructure our plans so that employees with family coverage that were currently paying somewhere around $12 to $1,400, depending on the plan that per month that they were choosing, those numbers will be coming down. Some people will experience as much as a $300 decrease, and that's about 30% of our employees that will be benefited by that change in plan structure on that, okay? I work very closely with Dr. Greg Lindstedt and Andrea Keller from the Staff Senate in going through this. They've been very supportive and very vital to the decisions that we've made as we've looked at all of this fall. We are not changing with the two insurance plans, health insurance plans that remain. We're not making any plan changes. We're not increasing any deductibles or anything like that. So that's important to note. And that was some of the major feedback that came back from those bodies, and I'm appreciative of that input. And so we've settled on this.
Daryl, what is our high deductible plan? What's the amount?
$3,000 with a 70-30 split.
Okay.
What's max out of pocket? 10?
Yeah, I don't
I
know
saw
off the
that
top of my
somewhere.
head. Thank you. It's in there.
Yeah, I remember seeing
I'm
it.
sorry.
That's okay. I'll find it.
Too many numbers.
8,000 in network, well, 4,000 individual, 8,000.
8,000 for a family.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, 16,000 for a family out of network, but in network.
In
yeah.
network, yes. And Mosaic is in network, for
Yeah.
instance.
I think that's an important number personally, more so than
Yes.
this. That's my
Yes.
opinion.
Okay. Other questions? I would ask in your actual board packet, there is a contract renewal with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City for the upcoming year. And our insurance is on a calendar year basis, so it begins January 1. And so this afternoon, I'm requesting approval for that contract.
Any other questions for Mr. Morrison?
So are we asking our employees to pay that difference, that jump, that $90 difference? Or I've misunderstood.
Some of our employees, depending on the plan they choose, if they choose a qualified high deductible plan for an employee only, currently they pay $0, and we're asking them to pay $33. And
Okay.
moving forward. Yes.
$33.90. It's $33.90 at the.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other questions? Governor Landis?
You know, they're going back to that increase in the usage in there. That's quite a number.
It is quite a number, yes.
Quite a year.
Well, I'm talking about, and particularly when the change of personnel and everything that we went through in here.
Yeah, we've had some high claims. I would tell you, Governor Landis, that my experience and some of you in the business world are going to relate to what I'm about to say. And that is, I found through the years that benefits, particularly medical insurance, is very cyclical in the sense that you really have 2, 3, 4 good years, and then you have a downturn. And that's what's happened to us. You know, it's really been about a 2.5% increase over the last 3 years for the university. That's what it's been averaging each year, about 2.5%. So that's great, you know. But as the demographics of your workforce changes and things like that, and then catastrophic events happen, things like that. You know, we had 30 claims in excess of $100,000. We have one claim that I'm aware of, $1.5 million. So. Other questions?
Hey, Daryl, this is Greg Mason.
Yes, sir.
Does the university have any type of wellness programs like, i.e. smoking cessation or whatever, to help reduce the cost of healthcare, or other incentives that we could use for some of the employees as they get older or unhealthy?
Yeah, we do have a wellness plan in place. I will tell you, General Mason, that it is very underutilized by our employees as a general rule. And that's one of the things that we're looking at moving ahead, is increasing that. I came from a campus, I don't want to say this, but I've been on campuses where if you participated in a wellness thing, then you got a benefit at the end of the year in the sense of cash money, basically, for that, because it helped hold down the cost. But if you did certain things, you may get $400 or $500 at the end of the year. So it was an incentive, an incentivized wellness program, where now that's not the type of structure that we have, but it is certainly something that we're looking at with our third-party provider to improve that and take advantage of some things that we have here on campus, Baker Fitness Center, other things. So, yes.
All right, great. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Not, do I hear or have a motion to approve the 2021 employee insurance benefits renewal as presented, along with authorization for the appropriate officer to enter into the contracts with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Thank you, Governor Landis. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Governor Norton. We have a motion and a second to approve the 2021 employee insurance benefits renewal and enter into the appropriate contracts. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The motion is approved for the 2021 employee insurance benefits renewal and for you to enter into the appropriate contracts.
Thank you, sir.
What else do you have?
One last
Morrison?
contract, Chairman Teeman. This is a contract for some HVAC upgrades on Scanlon Hall. And this is in preparation of a couple of things. First of all, it's funded by Buchanan County CARES Act. That's some of the money we're using for that. Mr. Johnston and I were able to visit with the county commissioners. Dr. Kennedy had spoken with them in advance of our going down, and they're very supportive of our request. And so we secured $200,000 for this project. It came in slightly under. We reap a couple of benefits from this. I'll just tell this body that. One, we need the upgrades in there, but two, this is also happens to be the place where the chiefs stay when they come. And one of the complaints that they've had about it is the air quality there. And so we're able to fix an issue that we have and satisfy a contractual obligation that we have as well. So we're thankful for that. This contract is in your board packet, or the, not the contract, but the information.
Any other discussion? I think it's important that you did point out there, Daryl, that not only is this just a wish list thing, it is a contractual obligation that we've already entered into. And if we are going to be able to host training camp on a going forward basis, it's one of
correct.
several things that we're obligated to do, just as in any contract that the chiefs have things they're obligated as well. So, and then
Yes.
we get to keep the benefits of the upgrade to the resident hall that our students will occupy for the majority of the year.
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the contract with Dakin Applied Americas, Inc. for the Scanlon Hall air controllers as presented by Vice President Morrison? So moved. Thank you, Governor Ebersol. Do I have a second?
I'll second Governor Teeman.
Hey, we have a second and a third, so that's good.
I didn't hear.
I appreciate you chiming in.
I'll third it.
There you go. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract for the Scanlon Hall air controllers as presented. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The motion carries.
Governor Teeman, can I ask Mr. Morrison another question?
Absolutely.
Daryl, so you said Mosher's imposed a 1.1% increase.
Yes.
So what's the total amount that we have to pay now with Mosher's? Do you know?
Debbie, I'm sorry, Governor Smith, I don't have my book in front of me, but it's
Okay.
around 23.8%.
Wow. Okay.
It's a lot. Our fringe rate on this campus is upwards of 50%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you or not thank you.
Well, we all know that, salaries are not what they could be. And this
Exactly.
just a way that to invest in the importance of our people is to do it this way for providing benefit. We're very people heavy on this campus. We will always be people heavy on this campus. So we need to try to take care of to the best of our ability. We had to make some changes this year. As I've said numerous times, I don't like any of them, but I really don't know what else to do. I'll yield to time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison.
May I ask a question? How many employees do we have? I don't think I saw it in
Are you
anything.
counting, everybody, faculty and staff? Number I would say would be a guesstimate, but I probably could get close, but I'll.
500-ish. He can get the number, but it's
Okay.
500-ish.
We just had a request on this. We just counted them
Well, If
yesterday.
you don't know it off the top of your head, just send me an email or something. I just wondered.
It's 411 full-time.
Full-time.
434 full-time. And 145 part-time. There you go.
So
Thank you.
550-ish.
Okay. Excluding students.
Yes.
And adjunct goes into the part-time category?
Part-time, that is correct.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the report of our student governor, Governor Berry.
So my report can be found on page 86, section D. It speaks to just life on campus and what students are adjusting to with learning this semester. Some newer terms that I think have been coined are Zoom fatigue and just the importance of utilizing various learning spaces so you are not exhausted of where you're learning, I guess. But I've emphasized unique learning this whole semester thus far, and that looks different for each individual student, and also and as well emphasized faculty flexibility. I think that I haven't heard of professors who are not willing to work one-on-one with students to find a solution given their learning circumstances, whether that's because a student has contracted COVID-19 or because of one of many externalities that come along with it. Wi-Fi issues being one of them at home or in the community or on campus. So it continues to be a learning experience, and continued flexibility is really important, and students are grateful to be receiving that from faculty. Student Government Association has been working hard this semester to try and find different ways to serve students, given the COVID-friendly ways in which we have to hold events and things like that. We are excited to partner with WAC and Student Affairs to host on October 31st, the football watch party in Spratt Stadium. This will be a really big event, or the largest event that we have really been able to host so far, given circumstances. We're excited for that event coming up, as well as other things that SGA has done this semester so far. We've done an intensive review of our Financial Oversight Committee policies, and on October 9th, we passed changes there, which just make make our whole website and our interaction with registered student organizations more friendly, more consumer oriented, allow better access for student organizations to use funds and resources across campus. So we're really excited about that going forward. Prior to that, on September 25th, we also passed legislation in support for Griffin Media. We're really excited to partner with them this semester. Given COVID-19 and financial changes, they were not sure how they're going to continue this semester, and we were able to support them and look forward to continued partnership there. This month, I had the opportunity to partner with SGA and Student Affairs to create the Griff's Bake Gratitude Initiative from the Office of the Student Governor. And it's just aimed at spreading some kindness around campus. I think it's been the last thing on just about everybody's plate right now, because everybody wears numerous hats and everybody is concerned about activities of daily campus life. But this has been something that I have been proud to sponsor and partner with SGA. On October 7th, the physical plant was recognized. I love seeing the list and Mr. Morrison's report about all the wonderful things they've done on campus. So they received a batch of cookies and a watercolor painting of the clock tower. And then just yesterday on the 21st, the nursing department faculty was recognized. So this is something that students nominate departments that they are proud of or thankful or gratitude, want to express gratitude for their services this semester. So the nursing department was recognized by student Brett Shanks, specifically wanted to recognize faculty member Stephanie Stewart for her character and support this semester. Shanks states that Dr. Stewart meets students where they're at and tells us daily that I want you to succeed. I want you to be the best nurses you can be, and that's why I'm hard on you. That's why I expect so much from you. So SGA is looking forward to this continued initiative this semester and continued partnership and recognizing people on campus. So that's all I have right now.
Hey, any questions for Governor Berry?
No, I would just like to thank Hannah and all the students that are doing this spreading kindness and gratitude. And, you know, I know this is a very hard time for our students, and it's heartwarming to know that you're checking in with each other and thanking our faculty for what they do and our physical plant and staff. And you know, the quote that you wrote in your report about Dr. Stewart meeting students where they're at and wanting you to succeed. That's one of the best things about Missouri Western State University is that our faculty and our staff care so much about our students. They love our students. They want our students to succeed. And as someone like me that finished my last year at Missouri Western, coming from Mizzou, is a huge difference. It's an absolute huge difference when your professors care so much about the success of your students. So I thank you for all you're doing, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. There is no plan or a roadmap for you to follow, since oftentimes we ask, well, how did we do it last time? How did we do it last year? Mm-hmm. Well, how did we do it last pandemic? Right. That's going back before any of our lifetimes for that. And so under normal circumstances, what you're doing is an outstanding job. But considering all of that, it's a great report, like hearing about the involvement and keeping us apprised of kind of the pulse of campus, and staying connected, staying concerned about each other is important for all of us in everything. It's very easy to get disconnected in these times now. So thank you very much for your report and for all you're doing for the university. Next, we move on to Dr. Kennedy for the report of the interim president.
Thank you, Chair Lee, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me just begin by saying that this week, October 19th through 23rd, marks the 10th week of our academic term. And what that means is that when we're finished with this week, we will be 2/3 of the way done with the semester. And our campus is open, and our students and our faculty and our staff are fully engaged in various activities and endeavors which make up our educational enterprise. So I'm very proud of the hard work and the creativity and the resiliency and the flexibility and the manifest dedication to our institution that our faculty, staff, and students have demonstrated to get us to this point. And I'm very confident that we will continue our very best efforts through the semester's end. That said, my report is relatively lengthy, so what I want to do is provide you some of the highlights and a couple of items that weren't completed in time to make it to my report, so we can go from there. First of all, I just want to give you a little bit of background about the fall enrollment post-census. As Provost Davenport had mentioned, we were down. And as you recall from my report to the board last meeting, particularly concerning is the decline in our freshman enrollment. So what I've been doing and working with some of our admissions folks and Dr. Jones is looking at some analyses to compare the fall 19 cohort of incoming freshmen to the fall 2020 cohort. And what we've seen is that there's been declines in both the number of enrolled students as well as the number of admitted students. And considering where we are with that, COVID may explain some of it, but obviously there's some other concerns that are going on. We did note that demographics between the two cohorts has not changed significantly. However, there has to be some other explanations. So one of the things that I did on September 29th is I did a Zoom call with our St. Joseph School District High School counselors. 10 of them were on the call at least, and we talked about their perspectives in terms of what we're doing for recruitment, scholarshiping, what are some of the decision triggers that our freshmen coming in are making in terms of what their choices are. And this leads me to kind of a conclusion is one of the really important reasons about why we're hiring a vice president of enrollment management, because this is the individual that we need to come in and take over our enrollment management processes and help us get back to where we were. The other piece I wanted to mention is doing analysis like this also highlights the importance of institutional data. And my objective of making our campus a good consumer of institutional data. So I want to highlight just a little bit of the work, particularly of Angela Grant, who's our institutional research analyst. One of the things I've provided to you, governors and Governor Smith and Mason, if you go to our website, you can find a copy of the document of which they have in front of them. It's the fact sheet, our fall 2020 fact sheet for the university. If you do an A to Z search, go to institutional research, you'll see one of the tabs has that on there. I thought this would be very helpful for the governors for two ways. It shows you a good profile of our institution, who our students are, where they're coming from, those kinds of demographics. These are wonderful talking points to have to be able to share when you're out in the community. You can, they're very simple, they're easy to read. So I think this is important for you to digest. And I would also encourage those governors present to visit the institutional research website, because you'll see that we are doing enrollment reporting by student credit hours, by demographics. We have dashboards up that talk about degrees awarded. We even drill down into the early college academy and dual credits. We're developing these databases so that we can enhance our enrollment, assess our performance, increase matriculation rates, and those kinds of things. This is incredibly important. It's something that I had initiated when I was working as the vice provost, but is something certainly that we want to continue. So again, I just want to highlight that to you and invite you to investigate that a little bit more on our website. A couple of other pieces I want to mention. We are going to have a winter break, our fall 2020 break, and a way to show gratitude for all of the hard work that everyone on campus has engaged in. So we've been able to give our employees one extra day surrounding the Thanksgiving, the fall break. So our fall break will run from November 25th through December 2nd. That's a full week. We're excited about that. I also wanted to point out, we've been doing spring 2021 semester planning. And I have to emphasize, as of this writing, pending any new COVID-related developments, we intend to begin the classes as scheduled on the 19th of January, with classes ending on April 30th and finishing by May 7th. That'll give us the regular schedule. We will be holding at this point a spring break, but we're moving it back to week 10 of the semester, simply because that will give us a little better alignment with actual midterms. And it also gives the university a little bit more flexibility just in case we do have to do a COVID pivot in terms of our campus operations. The other piece I wanted to mention, talking about planning, is started to engage in a little bit more strategic planning for the university. On Friday, October 16th, I conducted a retreat with our cabinet members. And thank you all for your very good participation. That was a 6-hour event and we completed a lot of work. Basically, we've engaged in the first steps of a SWOT analysis, and we'll be using this for planning purposes in terms of structure, strategic initiatives, and strategic investments as we near the next fiscal year planning cycle. We have a very good fiscal report from Vice President Morrison. We do have to remember you can't cut your way to prosperity, so we're looking at ways to invest in and grow the university. In terms of the university initiatives, again, I want to keep this relatively brief because I do have some other things to talk about. Very happy and excited about our Center for Service. We have 36 students who are now engaged through our new app of VOMO. VOMO is an app, you can download it on your phone. It is our volunteer engagement software platform, which allows our students and our community partners to connect online. They can enter information, they can take an orientation, they can keep track of their volunteer hours. Currently, we have 14 dedicated and short-term projects with about 2,500 hours through the end of November. That'll probably be doubled by the time we get to the end of the year. And we have some really strong partnerships with the Red Cross, Mosaic, Second Harvest, St. Joseph Museum, and St. Joseph Youth Alliance. The other piece I wanted to mention too, and this is in my report, but we have added another program to our 3+3 early matriculation partnerships that we have with Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences. We've added a dental medicine program. What these programs are is it allows Missouri Western students in their junior year to begin going to a medical school. So it's a 3+3, which actually saves students a year. We will now have 7 of these partnerships, and to date, 25 of our Missouri Western student graduates are on track to complete one of these programs through the partnerships. And I want to give a quick hats off to Dr. Baker, who has been instrumental in shepherding these programs and is also working with our marketing and communications department to further promote these partnerships. I think that's a really great opportunity for students. We've been managing COVID and working diligently with that. You heard some of our expenditures and what we've been able to do through athletics with testing. I would also invite you, if you haven't visited our website, we have a dashboard up which does talk about our current cases and where we are right now. We are updating that website Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we've also been, we've created a decision trigger page which talks about changes in our metrics as well as those in our city and our county, which might impact our ability to maintain our current campus functioning. Additionally, we've been working with Missouri Department of Higher Education Workforce Development Commissioner Zora Mulligan, who's working with the governor's office regarding the anticipated distribution of a COVID-19 vaccine, as well as some antigen Abbott Binax now testing. We've been asked to develop plans for the university, which we're doing. If and when the vaccines become available, we will be ready for distribution of those. There's an awful lot of details that have to be worked out, but we are working on that. And in terms of the adjutant testing, we have another meeting tomorrow. Now, the key here, the HICS is, it is free testing. However, they're limiting to symptomatic individuals. And the number of tests that we get will be prorated based on our campus population. That's not entirely clear, but if I gave you an example from them, if an institution had roughly 5,000 individuals on campus, the prorated share would be something around 300 tests.
President Kennedy? Yes, would the vaccine also be free to students? This is Greg Mason.
Yeah, it's a free vaccine. Again, the vaccine that they're working on depends on which vaccine they actually choose, because the vaccine is for it might be for individuals 18 to 55, or it could be available to individuals 18 to 65. They haven't worked those kinds of details out yet because they haven't determined which vaccine is going to work for them yet. So it just depends. We're currently working with, we're having conversations with the St. Joseph Health Department, some other folks at Mosaic to talk about how we might be able to do that or how we might be able to distribute that.
Thank you.
But I will definitely keep the board appraised in terms of as we get those details worked out. The last piece I wanted to talk about and spend a little bit more time is on the community engagement and relations. In terms of our people in our campus, I am very grateful for the level of dedication and hard work that everyone has shown in terms of keeping the campus open and keeping things going. Our students, our faculty, staff, everyone has worked really hard to keep this going. I have also engaged regularly with our SGA, our Student Government Association. I just had a conference call with Nathan and Ariana yesterday about ways to increase our student activities and involvement and to enhance our campus life for students. I've also been doing what I call walkabouts on Fridays with the Faculty Senate President. He and I go for a walk around campus. We visited the Gold Friday events. We meet with faculty, we engage with students. That's a good way for us to stay in contact with each other and make sure that we are on the same page in terms of what's happening at the university. I've been meeting regularly with the staff association and their board, which is also another good way to engage and keep communication open and our lines flowing between our two groups. In terms of the strength and stewardship, I have been working very hard to connect with other entities across our city and other agencies to promote and enhance our university. I've accepted board positions on the St. Joseph Chamber of Commerce, the Community Alliance of St. Joe, and the Mosaic Life Care Foundation. I'm also pleased to report Steve Johnston is with us today. I had invited him to return to Missouri Western, which he did on September 1st. And I will tell you, even though Steve is working on a part-time basis, he has kept my dance card very busy. During the first 20 days of his return, I was engaged with over 25 different appointments. I've met with all of our key legislators, our senators, our representatives. I've met with the St. Joseph mayor and the city manager. I've also been able to participate on the city manager community leader search committee, which was really a wonderful experience. I've met with our Buchanan County commissioners, leaders from Mosaic and the Mosaic Life Care Foundation, commander of the 139th Airlift Wing, superintendent and the CFO of St. Joseph School District, superintendent of Savannah School District, as well as a number of other very significant community, business, and industry leaders in our city and region. And I am very happy to report that these have been very positive and very fruitful interactions. Additionally, I've been able to work as part of the St. Joseph Legislative Partnership. This group includes the Chamber of Commerce, the city, and Buchanan County Commissioner's Office. Been working with our lobbyists, Trent Watson and Mark Rose, to really foment our priorities and plans for the upcoming 2021 legislative session. I'm very pleased to report that the top priority among all others listed on this group centered on Missouri Western State University. They insisted that was the top priority to request that the state maintain our core funding levels for next year. Further, I've had conversations again, as I mentioned, with our state senators, our representatives, and it's given me opportunities to discuss ways that we can prioritize Missouri Western's needs during their upcoming legislative budget planning and allocation sessions. Travel plans are in the works to go to Jeff City post the November 3rd election, and I am confident that our visits there will be very fruitful for the university. I've also had the opportunity to spread the good news of Missouri Western State University by speaking to organizations such as the St. Joseph Kiwanis Club, the Eastside Rotary, the United Way Leadership Class of 2020, and to our own alumni board at its annual retreat. I've been interviewed by Barry Burr for his Hotline radio program, and I have appeared on Marcus Clem's educational segment for the News Press Now Sunday evening TV broadcast. And lastly, I would be remiss if I did not commend Steve Johnston again for his instrumental efforts in securing Governor Parsons, First Lady Teresa, and the Higher Education Commissioner Zora at the Center for Excellence in Allied Health Education and Learning for the ribbon cutting ceremony, along with all the other notable guests who were there. On my first day back on August 3rd, I was invited with some cabinet members to go to Northwest Missouri State because the governor was coming to have a roundtable panel discussion about COVID on campuses. And I invited Steve to come with us just because I thought he might be interested, and I was trying to woo him back to the university. At that visit, he mentioned, we discussed briefly that the governor had been invited to attend the ribbon cutting in March, but because of COVID, everything was canceled. Steve took it upon himself to go and start talking to the governor's aides, and that's how we got that event scheduled back on our campus. I was very grateful for that, and that's been a wonderful opportunity to connect even more so with the governor. See, I've already mentioned the Planning and Budgeting Committee. I was going to give that a shout out because I think that's important. As I mentioned earlier, it's a wonderful demonstration of shared governance between this board, between our cabinet, our administration, and our community, our faculty and staff community. And I think it's also important that we provide those budget education and instruction for all members of our campus so that they understand that. So that's a relatively long, but hopefully not too long summary of my report. I'm happy to take any questions. Should there be any?
Any questions for Elizabeth on either what she talked about or within her report or in general? I know she is very accessible to us as well as to everyone who wants to talk to her. So I know a lot of the questions get answered as they come up and don't have to wait for a board meeting.
It's true.
I do have one question. Do students have to be partnered through the Center of Service to use the VOMO app for volunteer hours?
Well, we've installed the VOMO app for the Center for Service. One of the things, I mean, that's a general app, like, and when you actually downloaded it on my phone because I wanted to see what it was like. It's used, it's for lots of different platforms. But if you want to connect through VOMO to our Center for Service, you're given a special link and a code. But I understand lots of other organizations use it for different things. Does that kind of get what you're looking for? Yeah, it's really a neat opportunity though, because for students and for our partners, everybody does everything on their phone these days. All you have to do is type in your numbers. It keeps track for you. It also provides that service will give us not only how many students and how many hours, but it provides an economic impact of these volunteer activities on the city. So we're really interested in getting those numbers up and out too.
Thank you, President Kennedy, for your report. We will now move on to additional business. I believe we have Dr. Mark Mills here today to make a presentation and a request to us.
All right, thank you. I came today to bring to you an update on the Campus Prairie and also a proposal to name this prairie that we just keep calling the Campus Prairie. And I'll try to keep this brief. Josh told me I only had about 10 minutes, but which is not in my wheelhouse. I'm used to at least 50, and now with 4 days. Normally we lecture for an hour and 20 or an hour and a half. So, but I think we've been here long enough. So I'll try to get this done as quickly as possible. I want to give a quick shout out. This has nothing to do with the Campus Prairie, but as I'm listening to these reports, one of the questions that was asked by one of the board members to VP Morrison was whether or not he'd been communicating the campus finances to the community, the campus community. And as part of that community, I can give him a shout out that we probably know more about the finances than we've ever known in the past. I've been here since 2008. So sometimes more than we want to know, especially when it's bad news, but it's been good. You know, it's better to have information, even if it's not good information, than to be in the dark. That's what I think anyway. So anyway, I would like to also, before I get started, to give a shout out to Jeff Powelson, our partner in this project. In fact, you guys have met him several times before. I think the last time he was the one that gave the update. He had actually planned to be here today, but had some last minute changes in his plan. So he sends his regrets for not being here. All right, so quick update on the Campus Prairie. As you guys know from Jeff's previous update, after planning this thing for probably 5 years, we finally got the thing planted in January of this year. We've done various things as terms of management to bring this prairie on, including various times where we mowed this summer to knock down mostly the weeds. And of course, when you're looking at weeds, you know, weeds are sort of in the eye of the beholder. One man's weeds are another man's prairie, right? So, but there's a lot of things out there that we don't want out there. And so we're calling them weeds. And this next thing, and I'm gonna expand on these next 3 items here in just a minute. We planted trees, and that sounds weird when we're talking prairie. You know, it's like, wait a minute, I thought prairies had no trees, but the northern side of this chunk of ground already had trees. And rather than getting rid of those trees, we decided to augment that area and create a savanna out of it. And normally when we hear the word savanna, we think Africa, you know, we think Lion King or something like that. And what a lot of people don't realize is that we had savanna here in North America. And so, in fact, much of the western part of Missouri was this mosaic of grassland and trees. And instead of lions and wildebeest, we had bison and wolves. And so planting a savanna is not unusual here. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the prairie's already been used and just mention a couple of future plans. All right, so we did have a tree planting. We planted along with Jeff Powelson, once again, our partner from the Missouri Department of Conservation, secured, I don't even know, 150 plus trees for this planting. We did not plant all of them. We put about 100, 110 in the ground. And this was done on a work day that was in conjunction with the Missouri Western Student Chapter of the Wildlife Society. There were 5 biology faculty there. Jeff, of course, was there. He was running the auger. Dean Harris was there. We put her to work planting trees. Professor Emeritus John Russian, who will come up later in this presentation, and board member Rick Ebersol. In fact, you can see there's I don't know if the pointer on this works or not. Okay, it does not work. Anyway, there they are, standing there working hard, planting trees. They're working up a sweat that day, I guess. Biology classes and others are already using the prairie. So I just want to make people aware that from its inception, in fact, from the first time that we even talked about making a campus prairie, it was always envisioned to be multi-use. In fact, it was always envisioned to not just be Missouri Western, that this would be a community asset. This is something that high school classes could use, that Cub Scout troops can use, that it's more than just a Missouri Western project. And so right now it is being used. So various faculty are using prairies for their classes. Dr. Roy had her local flora class out there doing plant surveys to see what's coming up out of all these different species that we've planted. Dr. Jedlicka's animal behavior class was out there looking at pollinators, pollination behavior. Dr. Ganong's invertebrate class, of course, was sampling invertebrates. So basically all the creepy crawlies running around out there. And I've had my ecology class out there sampling the prairie as part of labs. These are just examples. There's been more. If you go out there, and I encourage you to go out there, It's not off limits. You can go out there and wander around. I've seen people just walking the prairie. I've seen people doing bird watching out of the prairie. And to give a shout out to athletics, the prairie is also the cross country course. And so they've had not just ours, but they've had high school cross country students out there running on the prairie. And so we worked closely with Coach Cody Ingold in terms of making this a multi-use area. Future plans, we have lots of future plans. These are just some of them. This is a long-term commitment. This is a long-term process. You don't get a prairie in 2 or 3 or 5 years. You don't really have a prairie until maybe 10 years, and there's a huge maybe in front of that. This is one of those things that it's a long-term process, and so there's lots of future plans. But we do want to create an educational, interpretive, we're calling it a prairie garden, very near a parking lot, which is also a future plan. We're going to create a parking lot right at the entrance. And right next to that parking lot, we want to have a more formalized prairie garden where somebody, let's say that was confined to a wheelchair and could not get clear out into the prairie, could see these kinds of plants that would be indicative of a tall grass prairie, and they would be labeled. So I just put up a quick example with little labels that would show them this is this plant. But this would also be good for school groups. So they could look at these different species right next to the parking lot before they actually go out into the prairie. This prairie garden is going to be planted probably next spring. So once again, our partner, Missouri Department of Conservation, has actually provided $1,000 for us to buy additional plants for this prairie garden. And Jeff and Dr. Russian will be working on this prairie garden early this next spring. I already mentioned the parking lot. I've been out there with Brian Atkins and we're talking about where it should be and how big it should be and all those kinds of things. We're establishing experimental plots for future classes, but also for research projects. Once again, this is a long-term project. So we're setting up these plots thinking we're going to sample these over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years, and gather data, student research projects, faculty research projects. And I've already mentioned that we intend this to be a multi-use site where outside groups can come in and use the prairie. So the last part of my presentation is really about naming the prairie. I submitted a proposal to Josh some time ago, and he passed that on to Elizabeth and the board. And so I think it's part of your board book there. Yeah, I'm looking at it right there. So I hope you've had a chance to read this. I'm not going to read everything on the screen for you. The bottom line is that when we first developed this, we started to think, what should we name the prairie? And we came up with all kinds of names, and we kept coming back around to Dr. John Russian. And these are just a few of the things. This is not a complete list. John mentored students for 33 years. He taught a whole variety of classes here on this campus. He was awarded 3 consecutive conservation grants that established the Odo Creek Nature Area. I want to give a shout out to that because we still use that area for labs, for research projects. High school students use this area. People walk their dogs in this area. It's a highly used area. It's there because of John Russian. John established the first prairie on campus. It failed. We don't like to say that too loud, especially around John. It's a touchy subject, but it didn't really work well. But nonetheless, he tried to establish it. He was really the founder of our award-winning conservation program. John started that program. And I highlighted this one here on the bottom because I sometimes think that people don't truly appreciate that we are the only school in this state that has the Missouri Department of Conservation on their campus. Mizzou doesn't have that. Missouri State doesn't have that. We have it. And really, and John is a very humble person. Several people asked me, would John be willing to come here today? And frankly, the answer is no. He wouldn't want accolades like this. He'd be very embarrassed. if we were standing here talking about him like this. But it's really because of John that we have the Missouri Department of Conservation on this campus. Yeah, he had help and he worked with other people, but he spearheaded it. He was stubborn enough to not let it die. And this is a tremendous asset. I cannot overstate how big of an asset it is to have that office sitting on our campus. And so I think for these reasons, and probably many more that I'm forgetting, I think the prairie should be named after John Russian. So, ladies and gentlemen of the board, in honor of Dr. Russian and all this work that he's done over the years, not just for the campus, but I think more importantly for the students that have come through here, I and the biology department humbly request that you approve naming the prairie the John Russian. By the way, this too went through several iterations, and finally we just asked John, what do you want the prairie to be called? And his first response was, you can't name it after me, I'm not dead yet. and so we finally came up with this, and it was John's input to put the word teaching first. So we asked that be named the John Russian Teaching and Research Prairie. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, or anybody has anything else that they would like to know, I'd be happy to address those. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mills. Any additional questions or comments? We've talked about this before. I mean, what a wonderful asset to the university and the community, and you and your extended team certainly have our appreciation. I know Governor Ebersold had attended and said what how much he enjoyed being out there. He enjoyed it so much he's told me like 3 times and forgotten that he's told me each time that he was out there. So
that's an age thing, Governor.
He forgot he told you the first 2 times.
I would like to make a couple comments. As been stated, I was out there, and I kind of have a passion for tree planting myself. I've got a little farm in DeKalb County, and I planted 50,000 trees on it about 15 years ago. When the opportunity came here to participate on campus, I jumped at it. And I was fortunate enough to speak to the gathering of the students, and I told them as they planted these trees, got their hands in the soil, breathed the fresh air, that they would become invested in that process and the landscape there on campus. And many of them come up to me afterwards and said that indeed that's what they felt. But more importantly to me personally, I've become reinvested in tree planting as I did several years ago in my own place. And it was a joy to watch these students out there. They were finding bugs and creepy crawlers in the dirt, and they had their hands and fingernails dirty, and the men and women alike. And they did a fantastic job and had a good time. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Russian for the first time, and we spoke for some time out there that day. Quite an individual and an asset to the prairie and the college here. And Jeff Paulison from the Missouri Department of Conservation had secured the trees and the grant for him, and actually drove his conservation truck and a trailer to St. Louis and picked those trees up and brought them back, and overseen the know-how of planting and teaching the students how to do that properly. And I think he and Dr. Russian are quite close in that mindset of the prairie and the savanna. So it was an honor for me to be in attendance, and I think everybody that was there enjoyed it, learned from it, and become invested in what we have here and that unique property and relationship with the Missouri Department of Conservation. So thank you for allowing me to be part of that.
Well, what a great example of our applied learning and it's the folks here living what we say, but actually seeing it in action like that, and something that's unique. Nobody else, as you said, in the state can do some of the things that you're doing, right under our feet here.
One of the neat things about this, and I told the students as I was addressing them, that when they become married and have their own families, they can bring their children and grandchildren out here and show them these 40 and 50-foot tall trees that they planted that was about as big around as their index finger, and how they went about it. And that'll be a special thing for them to pass on to their future generations.
That's if the deer don't eat them all.
Thank you, Dr. Mills. Very much appreciate you enlightening us with all this and bringing it to life. Do we have a motion to approve the naming of the campus prairie to, going forward, be known formally as the John Russian Teaching and Research Prairie?
I would like to make that motion.
Thank you, Governor Eversole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Governor Schoonover. There is no other discussion with that. All those in favor of naming the campus prairie, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion passes, and the campus prairie will now be officially known as the John Russian Teaching and Research Prairie. Thank you.
And
Dr.
for the
Mills.
record, Dr. Russian and I had took a 3-minute break from all that hard work. And we took our picture.
That's the only time.
That's the only time.
I just to finish up, I would like to invite people. We have planned a dedication. I don't know, I guess we can call it a ribbon cutting ceremony on Halloween, October 31st, Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning. We are going to, even though the prairie is open and functioning, we're going to have an official grand opening ceremony there at the prairie, and you're all invited.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is the report from the chair, and just a couple of things that I'd like to bring up today. At the very beginning, we did mention as we were recognizing Governor Lichty for his service, talking about our board, what I believe is our most important task, and that is in identifying, selecting, and then supporting our leadership here, namely our president. And so right now we have interim President Kennedy, who has just finished, I believe, 2 months.
Going on my third.
Going on, well, finished 2, going on the 3rd. With that, and just as part of what I believe it is critical for us to be transparent in our process that we go through, and I've been asked questions, and I know you all have as well, as what our process is going to be with that, what we're looking to do, whether it be search committees, things of that nature, and really where we're at with that, and we certainly talk about it if need be, but the way we have set that up for the interim role is we don't need to be rushing that. It needs to go within the time frame that best fits us, best fits the university. The contract that we have with Elizabeth, allows us to speed up or slow down as need be with that, and clearly we all recognize in these challenging times that our number one priority is our students and the university, and that's what we have have tasked her with, and she's doing an exceptional job, with that, and certainly has our support. But as those questions come up of what are you doing, what's the time frame, that's really what it is that right now we are focusing on this year and helping support Elizabeth in what I believe has been a tremendous job under very difficult circumstances, and that process, as I said, can speed up or slow down as necessary. There is no real committed timeframe, to that. And, that's, I think it's important that the community and our stakeholders understand that is a purposeful process. It's not, by happenstance. We are very pleased and excited with the leadership we have in place right now, but we also take the responsibility very seriously of who is going to be our leader going forward with that. So it's kind of a mercurial process, with that. And like I said, that is by design. Along those lines, Elizabeth talked about it some within her presentation, but it's certainly within the items in the board book of the things she's been doing. And everyone has on the board has a lot of interaction with her. She is very accessible, very open, and I encourage the public and other stakeholders to take advantage of that. The more you can interact with her, I think that we all benefit. But I interact with her a lot, whether it be meetings or on the phone. And really the three things that they overlap, but I have tasked her with and always keep asking for updates on. One has to do with our finances and the budgeting. We are still in a period of financial distress. It is important to watch all of our expenditures. We have hired people, as she has said, and I agree with, you cannot cut your way to prosperity, but you also have to be conservative and prudent with the funds that we have been entrusted with to oversee with that. So when we have done some hirings, added some positions, done some adjustments to salary, I've always talked to her about that we need to try and keep these as budget neutral as possible. And she has taken that to heart. Every time there has been a proposal, whether we have acted upon or if it hasn't come here yet, we're always looking at that. And she takes the lead on that of trying to say, how can I keep an eye on the university's money? And so questions have come up with some of the new positions, some of restructuring. It was evident in Dr. Looney's presentation. I forgot to even ask about advancement because we have asked him and he has accepted to wear a new hat with that. We have Logan Baker here today, who Dean of the Craig School of Business. We've asked Logan Jones, I'm sorry. I'm glad I saw Josh's head spin and then I'm like, okay, I'm thinking too hard. Dr. Jones there. Every time I do that, I feel like I'm in an Indiana Jones movie there. But my point being that another just of countless examples of our dedicated personnel that have taken on additional responsibilities, and to the extent we have been able to try and address those, we have. Other ones we haven't been able to with that. But that is always a constant theme of every discussion that involves President Kennedy is, how does this fit within our budget? How can we be as responsible with that as possible? And that ties into the next one is always ask about our numbers, our enrollment, and the fact sheet that she produced. That's in part a product of discussion. How do we have this at our fingertips to be able to talk about? How do we know what our numbers are? What we're offering? Another question that we have that was how many non-traditional students and things like that we want to expand. That it's always what can we do with that, and that's why she has structured the new position of Vice President of Enrollment Management and shown us and demonstrated the critical nature of that we have to be on top of that, have to be able to manage that, to maximize it to the extent possible. Our students are what we are all about. And the first thing is we need to get our message out. We need to get the message to our audience, expand our audience, and then we need to get those students on campus. We need to get them here. And then that's kind of the third part it ties into is how do we maximize our student experience when you're here, whether it be academically, whether it be extracurricular wise. Very, very challenging right now with that. But those are the things that every conversation I have with President Kennedy. She always seems to work those things, in there. And so while we are, mindful of what our role is as a board here, and we'll continue to, look at that, we also need to evaluate what's going on currently. And I, for one, am very pleased with what Dr. Kennedy has done to jump in, on challenging times for a lot of reasons. That somewhat ties in. We've established 3 new standing committees that we haven't quite done as much as I would like to have done, and a lot of that is on me. The chairs I know have talked to me, have talked to Elizabeth about that, and those are still works in progress. When we're starting kind of from the ground floor on that, so everybody bear with us on that, and we will soon be having committee reports as part of our regular board meetings, and don't be discouraged with that, and we'll continue to try and increase that as a priority, for things to do. And that just ties in with the efforts we want to make to be as transparent as we can on what's going on, and to have as much oversight as we can to be up to speed on things that are frankly impossible to do with just a board meeting. You have to be able to dig into some of those things some more. So we're getting there. We're moving those, and hopefully in the not too distant future, not hopefully, it will, that the committees will have more involvement with that. So if there are any other questions, or any governors would like to address any other topics, or make any comments in the public session, you have the opportunity.
Well, I, for one, think that Dr. Kennedy and Governor Teeman, as the chairman, is doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I thank you for it.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's certainly, it's a collaborative effort. Everyone is. We have a tremendous team here and abroad. If there are no other comments or questions, now we will have a vote to close this meeting pursuant to Missouri Statute 610.021, sections 1, 3, and 14, to consider legal matters, personnel, and other matters protected by law. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving into executive closed session to discuss those limited matters identified, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries. We will go into executive session. We will take a little break here, then come back into executive session. And then once we're done with that, we will finish up by coming back into open session.
Go. Yeah. Okay. Jim?
Debbie's husband was okay with me. Is that you?
We have no CNN correspondence on Zoom, do we?
I hope not.
Legal correspondence.
If they are, right? You know.
We are, okay.
Oh, golly Wally.
All right, we are back in open session. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel recommendation as presented?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second for the motion?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the personnel recommendations as presented, and it has been seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, I call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The motion to approve the personnel recommendations as presented is passed, yes, accepted, carries, the right word. And we also have can I have a motion to approve the amended long-term ground lease agreement with the city of St. Joseph to construct a fire station, with the city providing $275,000 to the university for general use as presented in the lease agreement? I have a motion. Thank you, Governor Ebersol. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Governor Schoonover. We have a motion to approve the amended long-term ground lease agreement with the city of St. Joseph to construct a fire station, with the city providing $275,000 to the university for general use as presented in the lease agreement, and for authority for the appropriate university personnel to sign such agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion carries and is approved. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting if there is no other business?
So moved.
There's a motion. Do I have a second? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Yeah.